Did tonight's speech change anything? Did it change the mind of any significant senators? We just heard from one whose mind was not changed at all. Here now, a Republican lawmaker who's been a consistent critic of the president on all things spending, and now on this war as well, Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee. Senator Lee, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Freedom Watch.
Thank you.
You heard the president. You saw him. Did he change your mind that he has the constitutional authority to do this? Did he change your mind that this is the right thing to do in the grand moral political scheme of things?
No, he did not. More significantly than what I heard from the president is what I didn't hear from him. I did not hear any military justification from the president. I did not hear anything from the president suggesting that American national security interests required us to put our uniformed men and women in harm's way. And it's unconscionable in my mind that our president would put us into what is tantamount to a theater of war without consulting Congress, without getting any degree of congressional authorization, either a declaration of war or otherwise.
Can I tell you, Senator Lee, I think one of the reasons he won't use the word war and won't speak about military necessity is because he is a lawyer and is a former constitutional scholar, and he knows, like you and I and a lot of folks watching us, that there are laws. It's not a good law. You and I think it's unconstitutional, but it is the law, the War Powers Act, which says he has to do certain things. He doesn't even want to call this a war, even though in 10 days he's dropped twice the number of bombs on Libya than the Japanese dropped on us at Pearl Harbor. Clearly that was a war.
That's right, Judge. And the interesting thing is, even if you pull out the War Powers Act, you look at Section 1541 of the War Powers Act, even if you follow that, he didn't adhere to it.
Right.
He didn't even go through the motions of consulting Congress, of getting congressional authorization, or of making sure that there was an imminent attack on the United States national security before doing it. So even if he wanted to fall back on that, he couldn't because he hasn't complied with it.
Isn't his argument that I consulted NATO, a foreign organization of which we are a member, United Nations, another foreign organization, even though it's located here in New York, of which we are America, and the Arab League, a group of Arab thugs and dictators that repress the countries that they run, isn't that a dangerous precedent for a president to use as the legal basis for committing the American military to war in a foreign country?
I think it's dangerous, and I think it's nothing short of alarming. Look, there is a reason why our founding fathers put the power to declare war in the hands of Congress. They understood way back then, just as we understand today, that declaring war, engaging in an act of war, which this is, I believe, has far-reaching implications that extend into every state in the Union. And that's why the elected men and women who serve in the U.S. Congress should have the ability to debate this and the authority to decide whether to proceed with it without the president just going off half-cocked on his own.
All right. If the Senate does anything in the next couple of weeks, I suggest that if you're on the committee that looks at this, you call as your first witness the Secretary of Defense, Bob Gates, who said as recently as yesterday, Libya is not a concern of ours. It's not in our national interest. I think the administration is speaking out of two sides of its mouth. Don't you agree?
Perhaps it is. And yet again, what we did not hear from the president tonight was any expression, any indication, any explanation as to what the American national security interest in Libya is. He talked a lot about humanitarian relief, and that's one thing, but he didn't articulate any military justification for fighting what is tantamount to a war.
Do you think, Senator Lee, that this war is in America's military interest? Libya hasn't harmed us. It hasn't threatened to harm us. It couldn't even arguably harm us, hypothetically. What could the possible military necessity even be?
I don't know. I struggled to find one, and I certainly didn't hear one from the president tonight. It is his obligation as commander-in-chief. If he's going to put our men and women into harm's way, he's got to come up with one, and he has yet to do that. I find that unconscionable. I find it irresponsible.
Senator Mike Lee from Utah, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it.